Crystal making is filled with secrets, part art and part science. It grew up in ancient lands, in Egypt, in Syria, and was brought to Venice by the Venetian traders at the time of Marco Polo. In the 16th century, a number of Venetian glassmakers migrated north and east and established themselves in Bohemia.
The Schonbek company was founded in 1870 by my great-grandfather in what was then Bohemia. That was a part of the Austrian Empire. I think that's important. When people buy a crystal chandelier, they want to understand its history, its pedigree. They want to understand that it's the real thing.
In 19th century Europe, where Schonbek began, people of means lived opulently, collecting for their pleasure choice works of art and craftsmanship, surrounding themselves with exquisite furnishings. Then, as today, the owner of a crystal chandelier was a connoisseur of beauty, and at heart, a collector.
People really surrounded themselves in those days with very beautiful things. The whole concept of seeking out collectibles, pieces in one's home that would tell a story.
From the beginning, the Schonbek company made its mark among the world's fashion leaders. In London, the Queen's agent ordered Schonbek crystal for Buckingham Palace. In America, Schonbek crystal found its way into the White House.
Andrew's great-grandfather was granted a patent of nobility by the Emperor Francis Joseph I, and attached to this patent of nobility is the right to carry a coat of arms, which is the one which we are still using today in our advertising of our product.
The growth of the business was interrupted by political events in, of course, Bohemia. Czechoslovakia is in Central Europe, and that was right at the crossroads of the Second World War, and subsequently the area was taken over by the communists in 1948. And my dad really was barely able to escape the communist takeover. He was a prominent capitalist. We employed close to 1,000 people at that time, and had he been there when they came in, it would not have been good. But he had the foresight to leave the country, and really came as a penniless immigrant to Montreal, a political refugee, and began a process right from scratch, scraping together bits and pieces to build chandeliers.
The company prospered once again, and eventually headquarters were moved to the United States. Schonbek grew to become the largest manufacturer of crystal chandeliers in North America, yet the company's design heritage remained deeply European.
Not every company that makes crystal chandeliers is a true manufacturer. Some are mere assemblers. That's not the case with Schonbek. We have our own foundry, we have our own tool room. We can create in 3 dimensions anything that a designer puts on paper.
Genesis came to us really as some kind of a gift. Its ornamentation conveys a deep and ancient kind of symbolism, that of the tree of life, which has been a centerpiece of precious works of art down through the millennia. There's a myriad of tiny crystal cabochons in a wide palette of jewel tones placed on beautifully branching foliate framework of a rich organic texture. Solid rock crystal bobèches and a finial at the base of each chandelier symbolize the earth and really anchor the naturalism and the organic texture of the design.
Trillion is a Schonbek signature family. The inverted pendulogues on the column of a trillion creates a silhouette that is recognized around the world as a classic Schonbek line. What we did was totally unconventional. We took a traditional pendulogue and turned it upside down. We used incredible technical innovation to achieve that, and it's something that has not been copied by anyone. When we turned those pendulogues upside down, we turned the industry upside down.
To achieve the high standards of craftsmanship that existed centuries ago, Schonbek today is a total quality company. Everyone, including production teams, gets involved in the design and critique of the product.
When we sell our product to a customer, our expectation is that it's going to be in their family for many generations. So, therefore, we want everything about that product to be perfect.
A lot of handwork goes into Schonbek products. Hand setting of crystal jewels, hand rubbing of finishes, and hand casting. Schonbek combines the old-style craftsmanship with leading-edge technology. Computer-aided design results in components that fit precisely and in frames consistently formed. Schonbek engineers are as creative as their counterparts on the design team. A wild design idea is never limited by current methods. Schonbek simply invents new technology to make it happen.
We aren't afraid to do something that may cost a little more, or something that's very intricate. I mean, something that isn't thought of by other manufacturers. That doesn't frighten us. We have a great deal of technology here that allows us to do virtually anything.
Schonbek has a repertoire of some 500 original designs, and the collection is constantly evolving. Schonbek even offers chandeliers for real candles. But sometimes, a customer has a vision of a chandelier that doesn't exist in any catalog.
My responsibility is the custom department. Our motto is, your wish is our command. We build chandeliers of any size, shape, color, whatever the customer wants. One day we had a customer send us a picture out of a book. It was something of an 18th century chandelier. And they wanted us to make something that looked just like it. We took the aesthetic parameters of that, combed the world looking for components, and we pulled all these pieces together to make something that came very close to what he had in the picture.
The more unique the design, the more complex the challenge, the better we're going to be at it. We can do custom chandeliers for residences, as we can do them for casinos, hotels, religious institutions, you name it.
Even before Adolf Schonbek started his company in 1870, the Schonbek family had their own glassworks and were engaged in the making of crystal. This intimate knowledge of crystal, going back to the early 19th century, sets Schonbek apart. Schonbek uses only first-quality imported crystal. The types of crystal are as varied as the designs.
Strass crystal is the premium brand of crystal produced in the world today by the world-famous Swarovski company in Austria. It's absolutely flawless in its execution, and each facet is cut with razor-sharp precision. The spectral quality of the light passing through the glass is spectacular. Heritage hand-cut crystal has a subtle brilliance to it. The techniques used to make this fine crystal go back centuries. Skilled artisans first cut the crystal with an iron wheel, then polish it with a sandstone wheel, and finally apply a little bit of marble dust with a wood wheel to each facet of the crystal. Sometimes if you look carefully at a heritage hand-cut crystal, you'll see slight marks on the faceting, which is from the wood wheel and is actually a sign of authenticity. This is a Bohemian French pendulogue. The irregular shapes derive from rock crystal chandeliers used in the 16th century. The molds used to make these penduloques were in the possession of the Schonbek factory in Bohemia over 100 years ago. If you were to find a vintage crystal chandelier in Grandma's attic, it might have crystal like this. The shapes are heirloom, whimsical beads, tiny droplets, and antique style faceted beads. Colored crystal dates back to the 16th century, though it's become very trendy today. We call our colored crystal jewel tones. The formulas used are closely guarded secrets handed down from one generation to the next. Our color palette is rich and varied: ruby red, olivine, sapphire, topaz, amethyst, and black diamond. Rock crystal came into being with the very formation of the earth. It's a marvel of nature. Each crystal is unique in the universe, marked by wondrous fissures and veins. It's mysteriously cool to the touch in any weather. Collectors have always prized rock crystal since antiquity. Rock crystal ornaments cannot be mass-produced. Skilled gem cutters grind, cut, and polish each rock crystal ornament by hand.
Arnold Schonbek often remarked that a chandelier should be beautiful, undressed, half-dressed, or fully dressed.
It's hard to overstate the importance of finish as an element in the design of a chandelier. For many, many years, chandelier design was constrained by a sense that it had to be a polished kind of finish, maybe a gold or a silver. We've really enjoyed breaking those rules in creating a whole array of new kinds of finishes. And what's new about these finishes is that they're old. All of them are richly textured. They're multi-hued, and there's nothing about them that's uniform. They look like they've been either hand-worked by the touch of a master or that they've been worked over by time.
The juxtaposition of supremely elegant crystal and rough metalwork creates a whole new aesthetic that works beautifully with the new eclecticism.
Along with this, there's been just a new decorating freedom, where in the past there used to be very rigid, structured rules that this kind of a period piece of furniture could go with this kind of a wall treatment and that kind of a chandelier. People today want to be able to express themselves. They want their homes to tell a story of who they are. And crystal as something, on the one hand, out of the past, can be combined in so many interesting ways with things of the present, things from around the world, that it can speak in a new way. Florentine is lighting on a really intimate scale. You know, we've made other small chandeliers, but what's special about Florentine is the degree to which we've concentrated lovingly on all the details, kind of like a medieval miniaturist painting tiny illustrations onto a treasured manuscript. We have gossamer strands of very, very fine 5mm beads, miniature, intricately cut French penduloques, micro grapelets that are draped about on elfin arms and scrolls that trace Italianate lines. Recently, we've decided to apply our love of crystal to table lamps. Since the 19th century, we've been working with the interplay of light and crystal in chandeliers. Now we've found a way to bring the crystal table lamp to life. What we've done is captured the light within the body of the vase to create what we call bottled light. We've chosen to use crystal cut with great elegance and restraint, without an excess of ornamentation. You know, quite often all of the busy cross-hatching and other ornamentation that one sees in crystal table lamps is to hide impurities in the glass itself. Well, we've been able to find a crystal with purity and with perfection that allows for the clean and uncluttered design of the ornamentation that we've used. And surprisingly, perhaps, we've chosen to combine this with richly ornate Rococo castings. And the contrast between these elements really creates an energy that sets these designs apart. We've also had fun developing contemporary and whimsical table lamps. These lamps really move in unexpected directions. They make a bold statement using huge chunks of heritage hand-cut crystal in jewel tones. Even the shades we use are unique to Schonbek. They're trimmed with classic piping, with Euro braiding, even with eyelash fringes. We work with many kinds of fabrics, Dupioni silks, silvery sheers, exotic studded and embroidered materials.
Our Versailles and Renaissance chandeliers harken back to Louis XIV's The Sun King. And the pièce de résistance in these pieces are actually the cut crystal spike, which is right at the heart, in the center of the chandelier. And what we've actually done is embedded a light right in that spike, which just warms the chandelier from the inside out.
On a typical Rivendell chandelier, there will be many thousands of these very precious beads, cut crystal beads, which were in fact developed for the jewelry industry. And you know, they're the kinds of things that one would wear in beautiful jewelry. And we've married them with incredibly intricate frame components, as you can see, which grow out of elements from nature. Each Rivendell chandelier is really a work of art. When you look at the Old World collection, as its name implies, this really defines the essence of what a traditional crystal chandelier is. All parts of the chandelier are made out of glass. This is a design that goes back to the 17th century. And yet, as is always the case, we've found new ways to do it that are quite different. Nevertheless, even my great-grandfather would be quite at home with the appearance, though we've done it in a way that he would never have anticipated.